Would you rather take a job or end up homeless? Well, most people would pick a job without hesitation. I mean, who wants to be willingly homeless? But we have these two bums who seem willing to do anything to avoid getting a job.
I will never get a 9 to 5. I'm not working for somebody else. I'd rather live outside.
Even if it means sleeping out in the woods in minus 11-degree weather. Meet the internet's most hated homeless couple, Leland Brown Jr. and his girlfriend Brianna.
Even though I'm homeless, I'm grateful to be handsome.
They went viral at the start of 2024 for documenting their so-called alternative lifestyle on TikTok and YouTube, which often involves doing something illegal and calling it a life hack.
Moving into our new space, storage. So excited. We can pretty much live in here during the day.
Not only are they living this way by choice, but they're actively glorifying it, framing deliberate instability and hardship as some rebellion against the system.
Chose this shit. I fought for this shit. I fought against the rules that my dad gave me. I fought against the rules of my girlfriend's parents. That's why I'm the fuck out here. Don't feel bad for me. Be inspired because I'm a fighter.
At a time when millions are struggling just to keep a roof over their heads, it's not hard to see why their content exploded. Controversy sells, especially when it hits a nerve. People see it as tone deaf at best and outright insulting at worst.
Most people just don't take care of themselves. They don't know how to move with. They
Obviously, they don't know how to move with money.
Let's be honest, no one in their right mind would willingly choose this kind of life where you're exposed to real danger. Living outside in the woods and open fields is rough. It comes with real problems. Harsh weather, insects, safety risks, constant discomfort, and the occasional police harassment. This isn't some aesthetic trend you can turn off when it gets inconvenient. It's reality, and a brutal one at that. But this couple seems convinced they've outsmarted the system.
Inflation is crazy right now. To move out of a tent where I'm paying no rent into an apartment where I'm saving maybe $200 a month, it's not practical. It's not financially intelligent.
And the more you look into their story, the more it starts to feel less like authenticity and more like performance, just there to fish for clout.
1 million people give you $1, that's $1 million. Well, what if 1 million people watched your video? That could solve homelessness. That could solve poverty.
And before we dive further, let's get one thing straight. These two aren't just some fringe internet oddities. They've built a presence across multiple platforms, and their numbers are nothing to ignore, with over 310,000 subscribers on YouTube, 329,000 followers on Instagram, and over 263,000 on TikTok. Which makes it seem like none of their struggle was genuine, but more a calculated content scheme.
Content creators get paid to make videos of all types of stuff.
However, their internet career didn't actually start with this content. Leland originally uploaded freestyle rap videos, which were unimpressive to say the least.
My backed up beats on my USB file. I was going to see my family. I was going to show them my music. I lost everything on the way back.
Unsurprisingly, this content barely ever got any views. His channel would have naturally ended up on one of countless obscure channels on the platform. But everything changed when he and his girlfriend were evicted from their small home. When Leland shared the news in one of his rap videos, he saw his views skyrocket.
I'm about to make a fire beat using FL Studio Mobile. I don't have that much money. I gotta do what I gotta do. I am currently homeless, living in the woods.
This clearly stirred something in his mind, because instead of treating it as a setback to recover from, he turned it into a content opportunity, pitching a tent in the woods and selling the experience online as freeing oneself from the matrix.
You still gotta work a 9 to 5, pushing 40 hours plus a week. That's on you. Don't get mad at us because we found a way to circumvent this shit and get out the system and get out the matrix.
And just like that, he started presenting his homelessness as a lifestyle choice.
We living in a tent, paying no rent, saving up money every single month. More money than the average American could ever think to save.
He, along with his girlfriend, would often talk about how happy they were to be homeless and how much money they were saving. And for some reason, this unusual outlook on life captured the internet's attention as hundreds of thousands of views raked up on their shorts. This expectedly encouraged them to lean even harder into this lifestyle.
Unless we're being loud or noisy. The property manager can still kick us off the land at any time, so we gotta make sure we stay low-key so we don't get caught.
Now, in most stories like this, you'd expect some kind of recovery arc. Get better jobs, stabilize, move forward. But not these two high-Q geniuses. For reasons that are hard to justify, they doubled down and treated this as the end goal. Leland did get a job later on, but for his obsession with getting views instead of turning his life around. He began treating it more as an opportunity for more content rather than actually taking responsibility for life. At various times, all filmed while working at a hotel, he took off with large amounts of food stuffed into large trash bags, recording and posting everything online. Naturally, if you're going to do illegal stuff like this and then post it online for tens of thousands of people to see, you should expect to face consequences. But this bright young man argued that he was such a valuable worker and it would be difficult for them to fire him if caught.
If my job ever did find out about me doing this, I'm going to make it very difficult for them to fire me because I'm a good worker.
Well, his employer did catch him stealing food and promptly fired him.
I got fired from this hotel for taking home leftover food.
He later uploaded his justification, which clearly showed how entitled he felt about taking food from his workplace because of his unusual lifestyle.
Saying I was stealing food, when in reality I'm homeless, and I was told I can take the food home.
The company was generous enough to offer him a severance package, but on a condition, he removed his videos on all the food he stole, which would be a no-brainer choice for anyone struggling as bad as him, but Leland rejected the offer, as if getting internet attention for a broke life is some flex.
I really needed that money, so I almost signed it. But then I read the fine print, and the fine print stated that I couldn't post any videos about me taking food home from the hotel anymore. And any videos that were up, I could get in trouble for that.
And after the firing, it was back to just him and his girlfriend uploading their bum lifestyle on their social media. Their channel truly blew up in early 2024 when they were caught living inside a storage unit to avoid paying rent.
Moving into our new space, storage. So excited.
And this is where a line between unconventional and outright irresponsible gets crossed. Because contrary to cheap lifestyle hacks, as they liked to brand their content as, this was an obvious violation of their rental agreement. Somehow, the storage company remained unaware of this for months, all the while the couple was filming and uploading everything. Essentially trespassing, then turning around and bragging about how smart and efficient it was. Of course, once the content went viral, it didn't take long for reality to catch up. When the company did find out, they kicked them out immediately. Now, before anyone starts sympathizing with their situation, remember that they could walk out of this at any time if they just took a stable job and acted like functioning adults. But these two don't want to do that. That decision remains a sense of responsibility.
How much your rent? We ain't paying no electric bill. What did you talk? They not paying for amenities.
Later that year, in order to sustain their lifestyle, Leland started asking followers for money through Cash App and even set up a GoFundMe with a $10,000 target.
We not getting a job. It sound like y'all jealous because we found a way to make it work without a job.
It's especially ironic given that he had told people numerous times before that he wouldn't need their money or for them to give him stuff.
You don't have to give me money. You don't have to give me cash. You don't have to give me tangible items, views.
By now, a year and a half had passed since their eviction, and the promised turnaround still didn't materialize. There was still no RV, despite repeated claims that they would buy one from the savings they were making from living in a tent. Instead, reality stayed unchanged. They were still homeless, still asking for donations, and still leaning on the same narrative that this was all temporary and strategic.
I got banned on TikTok for showing my girl's feet. We were gonna make $7,000 this month, but since we got banned, they canceled that payment. We're homeless and trying to get an RV, so now it's gonna be harder without that income.
They pushed more excuses about how there were so few places for long-term living for RVs, and all of them booked out and had long wait lists.
There is no long-term living for RVs in our area. There's a few places that do that, but they are totally booked out. They have long wait lists. Like, it doesn't seem like we're going to get there anytime soon.
In later videos, we see them double down on their homeless lifestyle, claiming they wanted to inspire others with their dedication to cost-free living.
I'm never getting a 9-to-5, ever. This 9-to-5 would slow down my entire process. It would make it where it's like, I have to go to work while I'm homeless, living in a tent. I gotta go use my energy to get to work. I don't have a car, so I have to ride my bike there or get an Uber, spend money, okay? And that's time, 8 hours a day. Time, that's 8 hours of your day gone.
According to them, they work for themselves instead of being employees. They're self-made and the CEO of their lives. Somehow you don't even need a job to get ahead.
Not me. I'm not doing that. I'm a CEO type of person. I'm a businessman. I want to run my own world, run my own business, do my own thing.
Okay.
I call the shots.
But self-made and getting ahead is a bit of a stretch when your entire lifestyle depends on living in a tent and relying on other people's goodwill and donations to survive. Speaking of which, they dared to reach out to a genuinely kind woman, someone who regularly helps arrange temporary housing for homeless individuals, asking for help. As hypocritical as the situation sounds, the lady was generous enough to offer to pay for their hotel during the cold winter. Now, remember, this is a couple that up till now built their whole brand on how empowering homelessness can be, so it's weird that they accept her offer without hesitation. They also got an extension after their tents were destroyed in the snow. The lady even offered to buy them new replacements.
It's broken, babe. I don't know if you know this.
This is broken. Oh my gosh. We should have came back here. We was at the hotel so long, man. It's been so cold. We didn't come back to our tent. And
on top of that, she was generous enough to even have offered to buy them new replacements. And this is where their lifestyle starts to cross the line of disgusting manipulative tactics. Many people believed Leland intentionally left belongings in the tent before moving into the hotel just so he could later film the destruction and use it for sympathy and engagement online. And in classic fashion, posting everything online again came back to bite him. Shortly after extending their hotel stay, the woman funding all of this discovered they had already had an active GoFundMe and were still accepting donations under the claim that they needed temporary housing. When confronted about it, Leland just said that it was their money and that it was nothing wrong with them living off the poor woman's generosity. By this time, he had already received over $3,000 from GoFundMe donations and probably thousands more from TikTok and YouTube on top of that, which naturally makes you wonder if they had that kind of money, why weren't they paying for their own stay? All that money that the woman used for these two bums could have been better used for someone genuinely in need. Understandably furious, the woman cut them off. What's worse is that instead of showing even a hint of accountability or gratitude, they turned on the very person who had helped them during the dead of winter, displaying zero self-awareness and absolutely oozing with entitlement.
Yo, she kicked us out of the hotel. She kicked us out of the hotel because we have too much money on GoFundMe. Too much money. Even though we didn't reach our goal, like, she's helping us, like, okay, it's so crazy, yo.
What they didn't expect, though, was the backlash. People started asking what exactly were they doing with all the money they were receiving, both from donations and from the content. In response, Leland claimed he was saving the money for what he really wants in life. Think about that for a second. The argument he's making is that he should be allowed to save his money for personal goals while other people cover his basic expenses in the meantime. From this angle, it's not hard to see that his approach to everything isn't about freedom, minimalism, or survival. It's about avoiding responsibility while expecting everyone else to pick up the bill and calling it a lifestyle hack.
I'm not getting a regular job. I'm chilling. I'm free.
And hearing that from a 30-year-old adult just makes it worse. But there's one detail that completely reframes the story and makes the entire situation far more uncomfortable. Leland has a young son from a previous relationship, which obviously adds a very different weight to everything he does online. On one hand, he repeatedly presents his lifestyle as freeing and unconventional, but at the same time, this grown-ass man has a child who needs real stability, consistency, and a sense of responsibility from his father. Instead of stepping up for his son, he uses his presence as part of his justification for his choices. At various points, he's used fatherhood as a reason why he can't transition into more stable housing or a more practical setup like an RV.
If we get a motorhome, we could technically like travel around and stuff like that, but that would be very difficult. We have to stay close to his son.
But just a single second of reasonable thinking makes his entire argument fall apart. Because if providing for his child was genuinely the priority, the logical path wouldn't be rejecting stable work and housing, it would be securing them. Stability isn't optional when you're a parent. And by now you can probably predict his behavioral pattern. Whenever criticism builds, the narrative shifts. New excuses pop up, there's always an explanation for why he can't do what everyone expects from him, but rarely ever any real accountability or self-awareness. Over time, viewers began noticing more inconsistencies. On one side, he would talk about income, donations, and earnings from content.
And I make money on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook recording our journey, our homeless journey.
On the other side, he would continue presenting himself as struggling and in need of financial support. The two realities don't sit comfortably together, and that tension is part of why the skepticism around their content kept growing. Of course, there's only so much grift you can pull before people start calling you out for being frauds. Understandably, many people stopped believing that they were genuinely homeless. Some viewers were able to point out inconsistencies with their projected lifestyle and the reality on the ground, especially Leland's own boasts that contradicted his constant appeals for donations. Because, once again, if he was allegedly earning thousands of dollars from TikTok income, why was he still on the streets and still asking for more money? But things get even worse from this point on. Some didn't deny he was earning thousands, but they were skeptical it was all coming from TikTok, a platform notorious for low payout rates per view. After all, how much can a person realistically earn in ad revenue from showing a bum lifestyle? And this makes you wonder their real source of earning, which brings us back to his girlfriend and how he keeps presenting her in all the videos. Brianna's about 9 years younger than Leland, and that age gap matters, especially if your partner's manipulative. Viewers noticed in a lot of videos that her state of mind wasn't right. In many of the live streams they appeared in together, it later became disturbingly obvious based on Brianna's pupils and overall behavior that she appeared to be under the influence. Suspicion rose that most of Leland's income wasn't actually coming from TikTok at all, but from selling explicit content of his girlfriend through OnlyFans. In a stream, he even admitted as much that he was using Brianna, while she can be seen mute and on reactives to his statement.
I'm using Brianna. I use Brianna. We all use people. We use people for transactions. Don't you buy a product and they give you money, y'all using each other. If y'all using each other for if a mutual relationship, it's fine.
This theory starts to make sense with how he frames her in all his videos at questionable camera angles, often in skin-tight clothes, perfect makeup, frequently seated on a bed, and with him never obstructing her image from the camera. Brianna has appeared in his videos in this exact same way multiple times. His channel even got briefly banned from TikTok after Leland was showing Brianna's naked backside while she was asleep. A massive violation of someone's privacy, by the way. Unsurprisingly, viewers began reporting the stream. So, his bum lifestyle content was just the marketing front, and the real money came from pimping out his younger girlfriend on OnlyFans. Instead of showing even a hint of remorse for what he had done, Leland completely flipped the narrative and started playing the victim.
I got banned on TikTok for showing my girl's feet. We were gonna make $7 grand this month, but since we got banned, they canceled that payment.
He falsely claimed he was only showing his girlfriend's feet and that there are people on TikTok showing way worse stuff.
There are people that are on TikTok showing way worse. How did we get banned for showing my girl's feet? You know what it was? Because she was asleep.
It's clear he'd been the manipulator here, filling her head with nonsense about how she didn't need a job because making money by selling her body online was much easier. By now in this saga, anyone can see that this was not an authentic survival story, but more like a deliberate content strategy that funnels viewers to something distasteful. And the problem with that approach is simple. It's that the more you depend on chaos for attention, the more you have to keep the chaos going. That cycle explains a lot of what comes next, because even basic boundaries stopped existing. Their location choices, their living setups, even private moments, and everything in between became material for content. And each time something went wrong, it was treated as just another episode to be uploaded online for viewers to see. Eventually that pattern caught up with them. Repeated issues with being removed from places, conflicts tied to filming in restricted or private spaces, and ongoing complaints from viewers and platforms all piled up. And all while this could have been a reset point, it never materialized into one. Because every reset would have meant stepping away from the attention economy they had built. But then, suddenly, a new video was uploaded and it shocked everyone.
A hotel for $2,000 a month? That's way too expensive.
It seems he got tired of the woods and the constant instability, so he announced his big decision. The couple would leave their homeless life behind and move into, not a cheap rental for stability or even a low-cost housing, but a luxury hotel room for around $2,000 a month.
So glitz and glamour folks were living in a studio hotel paying $2,000 a month with utilities included.
Wow, bravo. Going from complaining about high rent costs and how homelessness is freeing to an all-inclusive hotel setup with amenities. And Leland seemed to think of himself as some genius for this, stating how they circumvent paying rent at an apartment by shelling out $2 grand a month at a hotel.
We know we can use as much as we want. We can use it without having to worry about how much we're using. You'll never get that from an apartment.
Never.
It just comes down to being comfortable living in a small space.
The same person who framed traditional housing and jobs as unnecessary was now effectively paying premium rates to avoid both, while still trying to present it as some kind of clever life hack. Apparently, as deeper digging into this saga revealed, he wanted an address without background checks or credit card checks, so he could receive mail, set up banking for trading, or keep the grift going without much scrutiny.
It's just easy. It's so simple. You just buy the hotel, and there's no credit. Yeah, they don't do credit checks. There's no background check.
His newest master plan was simple in the worst possible way. Take whatever money he was pulling in from his socials and his girlfriend's e-services and pour all of it into day trading.
Day trading with all the money we made from TikTok and YouTube and her service. Day trading with that money.
Without much shock to anyone except themselves, the plan completely collapsed within months. And this is where he finally reveals the uncomfortable truth everyone long suspected, that YouTube and TikTok were never his real business.
But I'm not making any money from YouTube. Like, I'm not gonna say any money, I'm just not making a substantial amount of money from YouTube. YouTube's not paying me like that. I'm figuring out how to get more money from YouTube, but I get most of my money from her service. My girlfriend's service is like what really pays us.
They were just the marketing front. The real income, the actual cash flow keeping everything afloat, came from his girlfriend's e-services. So to put it simply, this guy's essentially pulled his girlfriend, which to remind you once again is 9 years younger than him, into participating in his unstable self-made homeless lifestyle for content, not because it made financial sense, but because it generated views. Views that ironically didn't even translate into meaningful income most of the time, and on top of that, he was openly leaning on her financially to bankroll his lifestyle and every new get-rich-quick experiment he cooked up. To push everything deeper into degeneracy, by 2025, things between the two of them had already escalated. He went behind Brianna's back and slept with his son's mother, which ultimately led to a breakup between the two. In a series of consecutive videos, Brianna did not appear with him.
I told my girl, right, not if, I already did. Go ahead, do what you want to do. Right, vice versa.
But as usual, that wasn't the end of the story. They eventually patched things up and went right back to posting content, trying to recover the audience they had lost. But this time their shtick didn't seem to work. Their viewership noticeably dropped during this period, and that decline seemed to expose just how fragile the whole setup really was. Leland, meanwhile, doubled down on day trading as if it was the missing piece of the puzzle as to why they weren't getting successful. Fast forward a few videos, and he admitted he had burned through around $79,000, most likely through all the failed trades he made.
I mean, we didn't blow all 79 grand. I went to a lot of tent stuff too. We had to get different tents. We had to fix up our tent. There was a lot of stuff with that. And then it was like, we had some bills, but it really was just us being irresponsible. That was most of the money.
Then another video surfaced. This time he announced they were being evicted from the hotel room.
We got evicted from the hotel we were staying at, and now we're homeless because we refuse to get a 9 to 5.
He openly admitted that they haven't paid the hotel for the stay for months without a hint of guilt on his part. Altogether, they owed the hotel more than $7,000.
We got evicted from the last hotel we were staying at. We didn't pay for months. We owed them $7,000.
Not only that, they had somehow also managed to incur a lot of debt, so the total they owed was $35,000 in hotel fees, credit card debt, and taxes.
This is where we live in now. We don't want to pay rent because we owe $35,000 in taxes, the hotel, and credit card debt. We can't get a home.
And despite clearly owing money, he still complained they did not get the full hotel service and were rude to them, as if it was something they were entitled to, expecting staff to clean their rooms and handle their laundry as though nothing had changed.
He can talk to me any type of way he wants. They cannot deny us services just because we owe money. We got evicted. We got 5 days left. 5 days. That's what the paper said.
What made that video even stranger was his demeanor. He didn't look stressed. Rather, he looked almost excited. Like the idea of being forced out again, potentially into homelessness in the middle of winter, was something he genuinely welcomed. He even leaned into it publicly by talking about how much he loved being homeless, how much money they would supposedly be saving, and how freeing the whole zero rent lifestyle was.
When you're homeless, rent is $0, so we just be chilling, eating apples with honey and cinnamon on them.
It was the same framing he had used frequently before, like it was all part of a long-term plan. Endure hardship now, stack savings, and eventually buy land or rebuild bigger later.
We're homeless to avoid paying rent. Our credit is horrible. So we're staying out here long enough to save up enough money to get that credit on point so we can finally get a home.
And of course, he added his own bizarre silver lining, claiming that winter made things easier because the freezing temperatures acted as free refrigeration for food and supplies.
You don't have to get ice for the cooler because it's naturally cold, so free refrigeration.
To add to the shamelessness, Leland later bragged that they had overstayed by 40 days.
We got evicted over 40 days ago. The constable still hasn't shown up. So me and my girlfriend have been staying here, racking up rent.
This forced the hotel to involve court orders and police intervention to finally remove them from the property. Around the same time, instead of changing direction, he pivoted again, back into implicitly promoting his girlfriend's adult-oriented services, funneling attention from their audience into yet another income stream tied to her. So what you end up with is a deliberate cycle built around instability for Clout, which then gets monetized by redirecting attention into increasingly uncomfortable territory. And honestly, it's not hard to feel some sympathy for his girlfriend in all of this. She has been loyal even while being pulled into a lifestyle that's unstable, public-facing, and clearly shaped around her partner's failed financial experiments and attention addiction. And this continues right into the present. They keep glorifying their homeless lifestyle.
We do what we gotta do to survive. And we happy about it too, we grateful.
Openly talking about illegal or questionable behavior on camera, and then uploading reaction videos, acting surprised when consequences show up. There's this performative gasp energy as if it's a mystery on how authorities or platforms ever find out what they're doing, conveniently ignoring the obvious fact that they're publicly documenting it all online, sometimes even while sharing identifiable details and locations. And of course, Leland still can't stop emphasizing how grateful he is for homelessness. At one point, he was uploading a string of videos, 6 in a row.
I'm homeless and I'm super grateful because there's people that don't have anything. Even though I'm homeless, I'm grateful for this power bank, 30% power. Even though I'm homeless, I'm grateful for the tent. I'm grateful for the camo on the tent too. Even though I'm homeless, I'm grateful for my lovely wife. Even though I'm homeless, I'm grateful to be handsome. Even though I'm homeless, I'm very grateful for this toilet that don't flush.
All centered around the same theme of how freeing and empowering it supposedly is. All of which screams of some desperate attempt to delude yourself that your chosen lifestyle is great even when it clearly isn't. At the same time, the so-called savings narrative starts to fall apart under basic scrutiny. Even while claiming to be saving money, they repeatedly spend on things that directly cancel those savings out, constantly ordering fast food instead of cooking, framing it as a hack for convenience rather than recognizing it as a financially terrible choice.
We're homeless and eat a lot of fast food, and we're really grateful for that because I don't want to cook while I'm in the tent. Cooking is a lot without a proper kitchen.
And then there's the state of the so-called zero-cost living, which is disgusting to say the least. A tent set up with leftover food piling up, a makeshift porta potty inside.
When you gotta poop, it's brutal in here because there's like no air in here. It don't get out. So I ain't gonna lie, it do stink in here real bad. We got bags, poop bags, okay? I'm grateful for that. And I'm definitely grateful to wipe your booty with these toilet paper right here.
And essentially no proper access to hygiene because you can't really have a shower inside a tent.
We wash our face, we wash our hands, wash feet, I spray a lot of stuff with this. Underarm, quick little detail.
None of this is framed honestly in their content. It's packaged instead as quirky minimalism or freedom living, while the actual conditions are far harsher and downright disgusting. Homelessness, in reality, is not a lifestyle aesthetic. It is instability, stress, and survival under constant pressure. When someone deliberately stages it for content, repeats it for engagement, and turns it into a branding tool, it stops being representation and starts becoming an insult to those actually suffering.
I'm just very grateful to have this opportunity to even do this and save money.
It reduces something deeply serious into entertainment, and that does a disservice to people who are experiencing it involuntarily without cameras and monetization. But even within their own narrative, you can see cracks starting to form. At times, he begins to admit that he hates this shit, and that it's harder than expected.
Now here's what I'm gonna tell y'all right now. We homeless and we hate this shit, but we rather live out here than work for a BOSS.
Whether that's genuine fatigue or another attempt to reframe the story for sympathy-driven engagements, unclear. What becomes harder to ignore, though, is what exactly they realistically expect from keeping this going. Between financial irresponsibility, accumulated debt, and credit decisions that damage long-term stability, the foundation underneath them keeps eroding. Add in documented risky or illegal behavior, repeated platform dependence, and a business model that can disappear with a single ban or algorithm shift, and the situation becomes increasingly fragile.
This building right here is currently inactive, so I'm taking advantage of that right now.
It raises a bigger question about how long can a life built on unstable income and short-term viral attention actually sustain itself before reality catches up in a way that content can't reframe.